Hello, Eva, and welcome back to our talks.
Hi, Alina. Great to see you back.
Maybe would be a good time today to pay some attention to a topic that is really important for all of us, and especially during these times,
Hmm.
because health and well-being affects us all, even if we like it or not, even if we admit it or not. And a first question to you would be, how can we acknowledge um, if we are healthy or that we feel healthy?
Yeah. I mean, it's a really complex topic, which I really appreciate that we can take a moment to talk about. Because to me, health and well-being has really become a very broad and very holistic idea. I mean, I have to admit, personally, I first considered health to be an asset or health to be important as I was confronted with not being healthy. So, similar to other values, I guess, the absence of what we talk about is actually helping us to carve out more about, what's the asset and what's the importance of health and well-being. It took me to get to diseases in order to understand that if my health is a danger, then there's not a lot of things left.
Yeah, isn't that an interesting way of learning about the important things in our life when they are somehow taken away from us, or we feel a threat that we may lose them? We become more aware of how much we need them and how important they are to us.
Yeah. And I want to add one more thing. I think it's one is you become aware in the absence of the value, become aware of that value. And I think it also carves out more in detail what are the important ingredients and the factors that are really essential um, to support those values. I think also the details, the specifics of it become more essential. I will give you an example. I have a colleague who I used to see during trans camp quite a bit. He had an annual ritual with his wife. They're both physicians. They're both medical doctors, and he's also a psychotherapist. And he said, and we usually have come together every year during trans camp at an intensive in Ericksonian hypnosis. And he told me once that as a medical doctor, as a physician, he had to become really seriously ill. He was struck with cancer and it was very serious. And he said, I had to change roles and be dependent on medical doctors and on the health system and be threatened by my health in order to really understand, not just from the physician perspective but and everything I learned there, but also from the patient perspective, what are the important ingredients of health and well-being. And he actually changed his perspective, and he has now written some books about the importance of communication in the client or in the patient doctor relationship, and also relationship aspects. And I had the same situation when I look back at I want to say my health career, which began very early. And I told you in another time, I used to break my bones quite a bit for whatever reason. And so I was in the hospital a number of times. And when I look back at my patient, doctors, or nurses encounters, the memories that come back to me are people who gave me a smile, or a nurse that would hold my hand and give permission that my mom could stay overnight with me, or somebody taking a little extra time. So what I recall in terms of those times are the hope giving, warmth, soothing, and relationship connecting little acts of kindness that were basically not part of the usual procedure for well-being, or for, I had broken my bone, so what they usually focus on is on the arm and the broken bone, but there were also these relationship aspects, which I think are really essential for a healing process, because you want somebody, when you're in pain, you want somebody to give you hope and say, that will be better. And like, I remember that old saying, say, oh, I kiss it away. If you hurt yourself, maybe there's a wound and somebody says, oh, mommy's gonna kiss it away. Or I used to have a trainer in horseback riding. He used to say, if I hurt myself, Eva, when you married, that pain has gone. So he would give me a perspective of, now it's painful, but tomorrow it's going to be gone. And if you have gone through significant changes, that's gone. So what the point I really want to make is there is a lot more to health in its value, and we understand a lot more from multiple perspectives, and in the absence and the danger of it, to really get what are the essential ingredients. And it's more than just paying attention to the symptom and taking care of the symptom. I think it's a broader approach that's needed, from my perspective at least.
Maybe a lot of us perceive health through the understanding of the medical health, or if they don't identify that they have some kind of disease, they consider themselves to be healthy. And if we link the health issue with the feeling of well-being,
mm-hmm.
then the perception of health is changing, at least a little bit. How would you differentiate these two?
Well, I think when we think about health or diseases, it's like there's some specific symptom, and usually people want to take care of that. Like there's a broken bone, so you had an injury, or your stomach is hurting, or your heart is racing, and so there's something that is out of sync, out of the usual knowing, and then you try to have it checked out to then hopefully come back into balance. Well-being to me has a much broader spectrum, and it's intimately connected to me that well-being is an essential context that's important in order to stay healthy and whole on a longer time span. If I quote, for example, there's a physician, Dr. Ranjam Chatterjee, and he actually had a really beautiful TED talk from a physician perspective about diseases, and he makes this very provocative statement that he can reverse even chronic diseases. He makes the example of, I think, dementia and high blood pressure and diabetes and other chronic diseases. And he has from a medical perspective, he has now an approach where he looks at, I guess, 4 different pillars, which are movement. So the importance of physical activity and allowing the body to move and be actively engaged and involved. Then another pillar for him is healthy eating. So taking in food that is really nurturing food and not processed food and over sugared food, but really healthy eating that is connected to your body type. So I think it's also a way of listening to your body and what your body type is processing in a nurturing way through eating behavior and taking nutrition in. The third pillar he makes is about your emotions. So connecting to your feelings and processing your emotions, because to me personally, accumulated suppressed emotions play a key factor, a key role in our discomfort, in our not well-being. And it definitely leads also in the long run, in the long term, to a lot of the dis-eases, as not feeling at ease in our bodies. And so he looks at, and then there's the body too, like there's our physical comfort and discomfort. So he's looking at a broader perspective, which I would definitely echo back. We talked about the mandala of self, using the the holistic approach from Virginia Satir, the model, where she proposes 8 lenses that when we pay attention in a really positive relationship way, that will lead to wholeness, that will lead to health. And I can only say that my personal biography, my own challenges with different injuries, diseases, some of them chronic diseases, will support the idea that health is intimately connected to well-being. Well-being is a broader way of focusing attention, not just on your physical, not just on your body, but also on your thoughts, on your mind, on how you process emotions, on the way how you eat and do healthy eating, on your relationships that you have that are emotionally supporting or not, on contexts that are helpful or not. There's actually a study that was done that people who are in the hospital who had an access to a window to look to the outside and have a view to the nature had shorter times in the hospital. So basically just the view to nature and being connected to nature helped them to recover sooner. So there are a lot of studies that will tell us it's not just looking at the symptoms that is essential, but having a broader view of our well-being and what is really creating more balance in us is going to be helpful in order to create healthy context, environments, ingredients that will support our well-being. And one really, really big factor for me, and this beautiful physician, Dr. Gabor Mate, points that out, is the hidden stress factors. Stress, to me, is one of the key factors against our well-being, and then also progressively and accumulating towards diseases and health crisis. And I'm my own living evidence and proof that that's true for me.
How can a person become aware of the stress factors that impacts his life?
I think it's a very good question, and it to me is a delicate question, because you can probably become aware of it on many different ways. One, to me, is once you have symptoms like headache, or maybe a racing heart, or you're getting sweaty palms, once the body is speaking, basically the body is saying no, so you have some physical reaction, that is already letting me know there's stress. So that would be one area. Another to me is when I feel very much agitated. I'm noticing, somebody says something and I'm easily getting agitated. I'm easily getting emotional. I'm easily feeling reactive. That's a stress factor. That to notice whatever other people do, I choose to react to it. If I don't feel like there's any choice in that, I'm stressed, because I keep myself at the mercy of other people's way of being around me, and I don't have to do that. People do what they do. They're like the weather. The way I respond to that is my choice. And if I get really reactive, I'm in a stress coping mechanism. I'm not centered in being well with myself, and I'm not coming from a well-being place. So being in a crash stress state is also being in a reactive state. So being emotional, we have a way of saying I'm thin-skinned. Like you feel like everything is getting to you easily. So I feel like a thin skin. And I want to make the point to the flip side too. There are moments when you feel like sigh out. Like you do this nice breath out and feel like, oh yeah, I'm noticing I'm relaxing, my eyes are opening, I feel like I have a big smile on my face. The flip side to detect when I'm stressed is also noticing when is the body saying yes and saying, I'm in a really good place. I feel relaxed, I feel at ease. I feel like time is stopping and this moment could be forever because I'm in a good place. I'm enjoying this conversation or I'm enjoying this meal. So also noticing when are those moments of everything is just feels like a place of well-being, and when is it absent? Because every absence of that, I'm more in a not well-being state, and I'm more towards stress.
Mm.
Lacking sleep is usually a good factor for that was one of the pillars of one of the doctors too, like a good night's sleep. Like lacking sleep is usually pretty much a stress factor as well. That is a no from the body. Because I would differentiate between positive stress and negative stress. Like the negative stress is for me the accumulation of things where I feel I don't have control over it. I don't have a choice in it. I feel agitated. My body is not in a comfortable place, and there's no way that I can change it, supposedly. And it's sending out cortisol, and that's the toxins of the stress hormones, and that's basically poisoning our body.
I find it really interesting and really important that you brought up this perspective on detecting the stress factors, because what I um, sensed a lot of times in different people was that they were more identifying the stress factors as being external factors they are confronted with, like a busy schedule, like I don't know, now with all these restrictions that are being put into place with
Yeah.
managing multiple tasks or facing uncertainty and all these kind of things. So a lot of people tend to regard this from outside in and not from inside out. So thank you for sharing this perspective of detecting the stress that is within us.
Yeah, totally. And I think a great literature really is from Dr. Gabor Mate, When the Body Says No. He wrote this really beautiful book about pointing out the hidden stress factors that are affecting our immune system and then affecting the way we identify as a person, and how that is correlating to our well-being and then also health and diseases. And I find that to be a very profound book. Thank God it came to me in a moment when I really, really needed it, because I was at the end of the road, checking out with physicians, trying to fix my health, and none of it worked. I tried certain specific diets, everything from the external source didn't work out for me. And I was already on the journey myself that maybe there's also an emotional psychological factor involved in all of this. And I was very pleased to read how Gabor Mate, from a medical doctor perspective, was pointing out the stress factors especially the hidden ones, and how we relate to them and how that may have a major impact on our health. And it was definitely true for me. One of the big things that I could say was I accumulated emotions like sadness and anger and didn't have permission for myself to take care of them. So I suppressed emotions quite a bit in order to perform and show up in a certain way. And it wasn't very healthy for me. So that was one element. So attending my emotions and being okay with them, and allowing myself that if I lost something, it's okay to grieve. If somebody violated my boundaries, it was okay to feel angry, and finding way to say yes to those feelings and then find appropriate ways to express them. Noticing that the way my body showed symptoms was a way of creating boundaries to the outside world, because I wasn't able to say no to the outside. I could only say yes. And I had to learn that before my body takes care of that, there's a way that I could say yes to myself, and appropriate ways of saying no to the outside. So I had learned through all of these factors that my symptom was actually a red light, a friend that was helping me to have a different relationship to my own self, and with that to relate to the stress factors from the outside in a different way, in order to find more well-being in me, but also in relationship to the people that I love, because it's always a dance between many variables. You know, what is good for me may not be good for other people that I love, because they want me to be a different way. So it's a negotiation process of finding the right balance to take those red lights. You know, I saw the symptoms as a red light that helped me to find a different yes and different connection to me and my body, and then find ways to negotiate a different type of balance between the needs of others and my own needs. So today I also see diseases as a way of negotiation between needs of self and needs of others, and how to find a good compromise, and being okay with yourself if you sometimes say no.
Mm. Yes, there are a lot of theories and um, researches that are taken these days, and showing more and more how symptoms reflect an inner struggle and an inner
Yes.
conflict. And once these conflicts get resolved, a lot of symptoms disappear by themselves, and health
Yes.
is pre-established. So
Yeah.
maybe that would be an interesting way of looking at health and well-being in the coming times.
Yeah, you know, I love what you said. It's so true. Virginia Satir, the family therapist who I represent with my work, has created a beautiful sculpture about conflict, where one is pulling one person to that side, and another person is pulling you with the arm to this side, and you're kind of like struggling from here to here to here to here. And in order to create a physical experience where you could externalize the image, the idea that you get pulled from one side to the others because people are pushing and pulling you and wanting you to be a certain way. And then maybe inside there's another push and pull. And so it's a way of showing conflict. And it's true. If I reflect back on my own disease story, it was all conflict in me, or conflict between me and others, or all of it at the same time. So I would and actually Dr. Gunther Schmidt, who is also a beautiful hypnotherapist and medical doctor and family therapist, who runs the somatic clinic in Germany, close to Heidelberg. And he likes to say that symptoms are an are the outcome, or is a signal of a double bind, which is another way to say conflict. So or stress could be seen, negative stress could be seen as a double bind. And I want to say that's absolutely accurate for me. I think it's always a way of being feeling conflicted. And if we take this as a signal that there's a conflict to be solved, then that would definitely be a very wonderful, broader perspective to look at symptoms, and then also compliment them for saying, hey, you're giving me a good red light to look into things that I may need to solve in the future. And then they can be our friends and not our enemies. Because I used to think my body betrayed me, and I was very angry at my body, and I was additionally, I think, punishing in my thought process my body for not functioning the way I wanted it to function. But my misconception was, it wasn't about, I tried to control my body and I wanted to, have it function a certain way. And it took me quite some wisdom time in order to understand my body is functioning very, very well. And by the fact it sends me a symptom as a gift, it's actually telling me I'm functioning so well that I give you some pain, or I give you some symptom to reflect on what is out of sync and where you are hitting a conflict. But it took me some time to figure that out, and a different perspective to take on than just the classic medical model. I had to look into Gabor Mate, or as I said, Dr. Rajan Chatterjee, or other people who helped me with an additional perspective in order to get it. And listening to my body, I think that was the best teacher of all. First.
Yeah, that's something that we all need to do every now and then.
Yes,
At
I think
least.
so. The body is a great teacher if we're willing and able to listen to its own language.
And also feel grateful for the signals that it gives, maybe from time to time, and
Yeah,
act maybe as a compass to guide us.
totally. I recently read something really great, a great acronym of pain, like pain used as an acronym. Somebody said, pay attention, integrate now. So taking pain as this acronym for pay attention, integrate now. And I think that's a really good one. Pay attention to it and then say what needs to be integrated and what conflict needs to be released and resolved so that we can integrate all of our new well-being now.
Yeah, I think that's a terrific acronym to end our discussion for today. So
I love it too.
thank you very much, Eva, and looking forward our next one.
Yeah, thank you too.